So in this video I want to clarify a few things. I've had so many questions about this reefer unit and heating my shop and ductwork and Freon and just so many questions, it's unbelievable. So I'm going to, hopefully this will help you and relieve me answering all these questions. The first thing, remember if you watched the first one, the unconventional way we heat and cool our shop, I showed changing the old reefer. I bought a different reefer. This is the different reefer, and it came with 404A in it. 404A is a mixture of 3 different freons. 404A is made to cool like down to 0 and below, right in there. You know, it's not made for air conditioning. So to get the most efficiency out of this thing for air conditioning, I take all the 404A out, recover it, store it in a tank, put a good vacuum on it, and I put 134A back in it. 134A is a very good freon for air conditioning. Not for freezing, for air conditioning. So that's what I run in there. The amount of condensation that comes out of these 2 hoses down here on 404A, it wouldn't even hardly wet the sidewalk. Now, with 134A, it just gushes out of there. So there's a lot of difference in freons, and if you're going to use it to cool with, like what I'm doing here, you're going to need to use 134A. The other thing is I put this thing right on the ground, and I've told everybody if I was to do it again, I would raise it up off of the ground quite a bit, pour your concrete slab, build you a structure or something under it, and raise the thing up so that it can get more air. And also it makes it easier when you're going to change the oil in the thing. So when you go to change the oil, here's your drain hose. So you can see when you pull your drain hose out where you're at. It's a lot easier if it's up higher. Gives you more room to drain your oil and everything about it. You can see here where I've labeled it. I put 134A in it. I did not change the oil. I just put a real good vacuum on it for a long period of time to make sure there's no air and there's no moisture in the system. When I run this unit, I run this unit with these doors wide open to help give it some more air. You can see here, this is the door off of my old unit. You can see where I've cut this opening out of here so that when this fan is pulling air through the condenser coil, it actually gets rid of it. It's all flying out here like this. So there's quite a bit to say about keeping a lot of cool air, and it makes it more efficient. Other than that, as far as these openings and leaving the doors open and converting it to 134A, a lot of people have asked me about the ductwork on the inside. So I'm going to take you in there and I'm going to show you what I have in there. There's no ductwork at all. And I'm going to show you how hard this thing blows and what I did on the inside of the building. So on the inside of the building, this is the inside of the unit right here. And that's how big a hole I cut to put it in here. This is the outgoing air, this little hole right here. That is all the outgoing air. And the air going in is down here on the bottom. It comes from underneath. I put 2 old screens in front of it to help keep stuff from getting into my evaporator core. A lot of wood sawdust and stuff like that flying around in here. I just try to keep your evaporator core clean with these 2 screens. It's easier to clean these screens than it is to take this piece of metal off and go in there and clean it all out. But the hole is exactly the size of this square piece of aluminum, and then I insulated all around that. I've got 6 inches of insulation throughout this entire building, and I've got solid insulated doors with thermal pane windows, and it's really efficient. It's on short walls. It's really efficient the way it is, but you have to remember that when you're trying to cool something, that you have to cool everything in this building plus the building. So just because the unit is running efficiently doesn't mean that it's got enough cooling to cool this building. If you've got a whole bunch of stuff sitting in your building, you have to cool every little piece in your building before you're going to cool any air, because everything is going to radiate off heat. So the more stuff you have in your building, you know, this building is so full of stuff that what I do of a morning, when it's nice and cool of a morning, just about the time, you know, 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning when it's nice and cold, I've got a big 13-foot door on each end of my building. I open up both doors. I've got a great big 42-inch drum fan. I turn it on. I find out which way the wind's blowing, and I blow air through this building until about 10 o'clock. And that takes all the heat out of the ceiling. It cools off the whole building. And right after 10 o'clock, you pull the doors down, you turn on your radiator, I turn on my reefer unit, and it stays pretty nice in here. Now, if it's a 105-degree day outside, and you're sitting in here at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, whatever the temperature is in here at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, it's not going to drop, because that sun's shining on this metal building. It's not going to drop. The only thing that you're going to do is dehumidify it. So when you come in here, it's going to be comfortable because there's no humidity. It's going to feel cooler. But if you look at the temperature gauge, the temperature's probably not going to drop during that period of time. Now, later on in the afternoon, then you might start seeing a temperature drop. But like me, you know, I go through this every day. So it's different. It's different how it works. Everybody's going to be different, but just remember, if you don't have any good insulation, and the more stuff you have, and I'm going to show you, and just real quick, like, give you an idea how much weight is in this building that when I turn this thing on that I'm trying to cool, it's an awful lot. So I tied some streamers on, and when I start this thing up, I did this so that you can see how hard that this fan blows. This fan, if you walked in front of it, it's above me, you know, it's blowing out up here. But if you had a hat on your head and you walked in front of it, it would blow the hat off of your head. I tied these on just so you can see how much air and how far across this shop it blows. But it blasts it out, and then it's sucking its air return is on the bottom. It's sucking it in from the bottom. So I'm going to also put a temperature sensor in there, and I'm going to show you what ambient temperature is today and what the temperature is coming out of that coil. And I'll show you that little tool I use. It's really handy for working on air conditionings for cars, trucks, and tractors and things like that. But I'm going to show you now about what kind of weight is in this building as to what I'm trying to cool. So if you look over there where the reefer unit is, and you come all the way across over here, that's 40 feet. And I'm 22 feet to the top of the ceiling. But look at the steel I put in here with my crane and toolboxes and more toolboxes. This table right here, the top of that table weighs 6,000 pounds. That's a milling machine table. It weighs 6,000 pounds. It's 6 inches thick. So that whole table has got to be cooled before you're going to gain anything. That table right there is probably 1,500 to 2,000 pounds with all the stuff on it. So, you know, you got to cool that. You got to cool the saw. You got to cool the parts bins. Everything in here, the forklift, the bandsaw, everything in here has got to be cooled before you're ever going to gain any temperature. So the more stuff you have in your shop, the harder it is going to be to cool it. So if you look at this unit running right now, it's at idle. It's just idling. I'll show you the temperature gauge here with it at idle. So I've got one probe down inside of there and the other probe sitting right here, and it says the shop temperature right now is 79.7. and the outlet air temperature is 62.4. Now you look and you'll see how much air is going past right here and right here. That's an awful lot of air moving at an idle. So I'll go up there and put her on wide open and we'll look at it all again here. So I just went out there and put it on wide open. You can see how much air it's moving. See the streamer I've got here. And this one. And this one. It's still moving an awful lot of air, but it comes out of there so hard it comes all the way across the shop. And when it gets over here, it goes both ways. It goes towards that end and it goes towards this end. But it really puts out a lot of air. So with it running, it was kind of hard to talk to you because the only thing you're going to hear is that engine running. But this is your receiver tank, and that little ball is the level of Freon that you have. If it's floating, it's telling you that you have adequate amount of Freon. This other one was your compressor oil level down here in the bottom of your Freon compressor. Two critical things. We put 17 pounds of 134A in this thing, and it's really doing good now. It's about 20 degrees difference, which is what I wanted. From the incoming air to the outgoing air, 20 degrees difference. That's getting with it pretty good right there. We found one problem where head pressure was a little bit high. And what we found was the fact that where I've opened this up right here, the air it's getting pulled into the condenser coil here so fast that it's actually coming around the corner, and all this hot air is going back into my condenser. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build me a big air scoop, put on here, and force that air away from here. And I think that'll alleviate my head pressure being high. Right now, I showed you it was running about 235 or 40. 35, so, and that's doing pretty good. It's cooling good. So anyhow, hope you liked the video, and I hope this answers a lot of people's questions. And especially the guy that's got one that's been working on it for a while. I hope this helps you. But that little gauge I showed you where it senses ambient air temperature, I'm going to walk you in there and show it to you one more time because it's really a handy tool. Whether you're working on a car air conditioner, truck, tractor, reefer, whatever you're working on, it's awful nice to know what the ambient temperature is and what your coil output air temperature is. So I'll take you in there and I'll show it to you one more time. So this is the little deflector that we put on the fan here to get air to go away from the condenser coil, because what was happening was the air was circulating. It, you know, it pulls so hard it was pulling hot air around and going back through the condenser coil, giving me a lot more head pressure. So we cut this piece out and it deflects all of that hot air and sends it out to nowhere out here. So works pretty good now. Our head pressure dropped by about 25 psi. So here again is the smart gauge, and it's really an awesome tool. You turn it on and it's going to show you what your ambient temperature is on this probe. You can clip it onto something, and then it's going to show you your duct temperature on this probe. So you can have that one stuck in a duct, and you can have this one sitting out someplace in ambient temperature, and really gets it right down, you know, 80, 80.1, 80.2, and it'll tell you your duct temperature, you know, 79, 79.2, 79.1. It's just very, very accurate. But when you're charging something and you keep an eye on it, it really helps get you close, real close. Good tool. So I hope this video answered a lot of questions for people that had them. Thanks for watching.